Hi, welcome to another edition of Design Spark Ask the Expert. Today we're talking to Weller about their WXsmart soldering station. And I have Marcel Teller with me today. Hi Marcel, do you want to say hello to Design Spark?
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Greg. It's a pleasure to be here and speaking to you. And a couple of words to myself. I'm Marcel Teller, working for Weller since 12 years now, and I'm Senior Global Product Manager for the Weller Industrial line, means industrial soldering.
Great, fantastic. Well, thanks for joining us, Marcel. It's great to have you. So I'm really interested to hear more about the WXsmart all-in-one station. But what is it that users can expect from that?
So the new WXsmart station is a great invention which we did over the last 4 years. So we did a lot of voice of customer all over the world, visited the different plants, speak to the operators, the engineers, the quality managers, the line supervisors, and try to find out what are the next steps, what are the market trends. And what we came up with this year in October 2022 is the new WXsmart platform. It's not just a station, which is replacing our current high-end stations. So currently we have 4 different high-end stations to tackle all the needs in the market. And the first thing we can say to an all-in-one station is that we are simplifying for our customers from 4 different stations to 1 station and 1 solution. So for the future, it's very simple taking a choice in our high-end portfolio. There is 1 station tackling all applications, really from the smallest component to heavy-duty soldering. You can do everything with that 1 station.
Right, okay. So the WXsmart is more than just a soldering station. So you've listened to a lot of feedback as well from customers to see what's coming down the line, what it is they're looking for. So just explain a little bit more than the WXsmart being more than just a soldering station then.
Exactly. So it's not just a soldering station. We build the station up within modularity. So we have very good flexibility for our customers in the future. If they want to buy a soldering station first and keep the investment low, they can do this, but they can at any time update their WXsmart station to a full rework station with a so-called WXair modularity, which is a unique 2-in-1 rework model, which is including hot air and desoldering. So by adding this model very simple to the station, you can do all the desoldering and hot air tasks with the same soldering station than before. And the great thing about that, it's really space-saving design, means it's stackable, so it's not taking more space on your workbench. So it's getting all-in-one solution. So let's say from the smallest components to heavy-duty components from a soldering point of view, but also tackling all the desoldering and hot air tasks as well. And that's not all to it. Additional, the WXsmart station, we call it the brain of the workbench, means that you can also additionally have more synergy effects as an end customer from our station. Means connecting, for example, fume extraction units to it, where you can control the fume extraction unit, get the filter status, get automatic sleep modus on that for saving energy, and, for example, increasing filter lifetime. So that is a possibility with filtration, but you can also control preheating plates, solder bath, our temperature measurement devices, and much more. So it's also a full benchtop controller instead just a soldering station.
Great. That sounds really interesting as well, particularly what you were talking about with space saving. Being a modular system, then you can upgrade as and when you need to. So there's some scalability in there as well. That's really great. So in terms of WXsmart, tell me about smart irons, smart tips.
So the smart irons and the smart tips are the next level of invention we're doing on the soldering tips technology. Means instead of having just a high performance and a very fast tip change in the field, we wanted to go the next steps also in terms of Industry 4.0 and traceability. Means we have a built-in parameter storage in the tools and in the tip. And what does that mean? We have the only smart tips in the world. That includes intelligent tip identification, for example. So every single soldering tip knows exactly the dimensions and size it has. And that helps to heat up much more precise than everything else in the market. Because as mentioned, every single tip knows exactly what it is, and that makes it really unique. Also additional to that, in terms of traceability, every single soldering tip has a unique serial number, which make it easy to identify them. It has also a calibration history on the tip itself stored, so you can really see how many times and when, on what date and at what time it was calibrated, and also the offset status. Additional, it's going one step further in terms of process control, means you can also activate tip lock functions. So in the past, you could control the station, the operator, the tool. You could do also a tool lock in terms of process control, but now you can also specifically lock on different tip types for your application, really making sure you're not using the wrong dimension for the application. So that's just a couple of new features in terms of the soldering tip itself, but also on the tool area, we did make a huge improvement. For example, on our micro and pico soldering irons, thanks to that smart tips, we could combine both of that tip styles into one iron. So we have a 2-in-1 micro pico soldering iron, which combines both soldering tip lines into one.
Okay, so that's really interesting there, because what you were talking about, traceability all the way from the tip through to the station. I hadn't come across that before, so that's a really kind of, as you say, unique feature. You have the smart tips. I'm interested to see how customers will find those moving forward, because, to give that traceability from that level of detail is absolutely amazing. One of the things I just want to touch on, though, is with the WXsmart, what are we talking about in terms of backwards compatible, with existing WX, RS sell a lot of these. So can you just tell me a little bit more about backwards compatibility?
Yes, sure. A lot of questions came also during our tour for collecting all the information in the voice of customer for developing these new stations, in terms of, can we use existing tools from our current platforms on the new station as well? And I think we're one of the only manufacturers in the hand soldering area which makes that possible. So currently all the existing WX tools which are sold on RS are backwards compatible to our WXsmart station, and that's a great feature. If you are running a production line and you have certified the soldering iron and the soldering tips already, you can still use them on the new WXsmart station, but you will get a lot of new features in terms of traceability and process control, and much more features than that to it. But you can save your initial investment. So it's a really future-proof investment. You get a station, a lot of new functions, but you can still stay with your iron. You don't need to upgrade to the smart tools and tips we're having. You can stay with the technology if you're satisfied with that. If you want, you can take later on the next level and upgrade at any time. And that's the great thing about the flexibility here.
Okay. So I just want to stay with the tips for a couple of questions then.
Yes.
In terms of tip change and productivity, what are we looking at with the new smart tips?
The new smart tips are also, as our existing active tip range. It's a patented tip to grip design, means you can, even in hot conditions, you can change the tip really fast within 2 to 3 seconds, and you don't burn your fingers. You can really easily use the grip and remove it, even if it's 350 degrees Celsius, without any additional tool. And that's a really unique thing in the market. We're the only one having really a toolless tip change in very hot conditions, and that within seconds. That's the first thing, yeah.
So that's really bringing me on to another question about the tips then. If you're talking about a really fast tip change like that, what are we talking about in terms of tip precision? And also, if I just add to that, how do Weller have a solution to measure how precise those soldering tips are?
Yeah, that's really coming back to now the new invention we're having in terms of tip technology and iron technology, means with that integrated chip, which I mentioned earlier, that every tip knows exactly what it is, what dimension it has. It makes the tip much more precise than the current IPC norms. So it can be really very precise, and we have also a solution to really measure that in our portfolio. That's a WCU. It's a high-end temperature measurement device where you can easily measure if the temperature is correct. So the first statement we have here is that you don't need to calibrate or measure normally Weller products, stations and irons and tips. They are very, very precise. But if you want to go beyond that level of a precision which is needed in the market, you can use that temperature measurement device to really measure if it's correct. You have the data documentation and you will have it saved on the tip itself. So you are not offsetting the iron as in the past or the station, because if you're offsetting the station, also every other soldering tip later on you put on there will have an offset. In this case, you really just, let's say, offset the tip itself, and that's much more safe than everything else. So just Weller's offering that possibility with a wide range of smart tips. We're starting with over 70 smart tips in the market, from nano, micro to heavy duty tips. And that's the only offering in that area worldwide right now.
Okay. So if we go back to the actual soldering station, I'm looking at obviously the control screens on there. They're really great. But in terms of a modular system, can you just tell me a little bit more about what we're looking at in terms of the information on those screens?
Yes, so first maybe coming to the screen and the safety on that, we have a built-in heat-resistant and ESD-safe screen. That's also the only one in the hand soldering market, and it's patented. The reason for that is safety. Sometimes it happens if you really solder fast that maybe the operator wants to go by accident with the hot soldering tip on the station display to change temperature or something else. And in this case, nothing will happen. It will not burn through the display. It will not do any damage to that. So we want to prevent damage with that heat-resistant display, as well as having the ESD added on that. The second thing is that we optimize the screen also in terms of being usable with ESD gloves. That's also a big thing in the industry. If you don't use the buttons, is it really easy to navigate through the screen? Yes, we can do it also with the ESD gloves, and we optimize the software for that. The only thing before that is you need to clean the screen to make sure you get your finger fat removed, that gloves are running smooth on the display and everything is running well. For the last point is we did integrate the biggest screen in the hand soldering market to the station itself. It's 4.3 inch, and that's really that the operator can view the information he has from every angle in a perfect way, and that's built in like that. What we can see on the screen, we try to make the station as easy as possible to operate. Means it's just 4 swipes necessary to navigate through the station by all the features we're having in. Left and right swiping or clicking on the temperature is really like having a fast tool tip and temperature change. Swiping up is really the settings, like on the smartphone, like station settings, tool settings, time settings, Wi-Fi settings. And swiping down is benchtop control. So everything additional you want to control, which has nothing to do with soldering, means desoldering in hot air or filtration or preheating plates. That will be everything by swiping down. So 4 swipes necessary and very simple to navigate.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Easy to navigate is definitely the solution there. And interesting to talk about users wearing gloves. It's not something that automatically springs to mind unless you've tried to use swipe screens wearing gloves. So yeah, that's a really that's an important point. You mentioned earlier about the feedback that you went to your customers and got this feedback. So talking about trends like Industry 4.0, connectivity, the smart factory, and process control, what is it that Weller can offer?
Yes. So we saw the trends coming a lot. For sure, it was first on all the bigger machines, the automation, the robotics, but it seems now that it's getting also into the hand soldering area, a big topic, especially in EMS, aerospace, automotive. I mean, that are big trends. And what we did build in is we have the most connected station in the market, where it's coming really back to the topic all-in-one, means we have integrated Wi-Fi, so no additional price to that. We have integrated LAN, we have 2 integrated RS-232 ports, and we have also a USB plug in there. So all of that is integrated to the station itself, and there's no additional thing you need to do. So it's really the basic version, comes with everything in there, and you don't need to worry about the hardware or any hardware upgrades for the future. That's number one, what we built in. The second thing is that we, in terms of traceability, have different options for our customer to go through that. Number one, it's a future-proof station, means if you don't need traceability right now, you don't need to use it. There are many other features in there in terms of productivity and precision, which will fit perfectly. But if they have the station, they're really ready for the future. And there's three different ways to get the data. Number one, if they don't want to go in a network, we have something called USB data logging. That means you just plug in the USB and you start logging all the data necessary for your soldering process and have the full traceability on that. So you don't need to go in any network, and you can use the USB stick for that. There are simple explanations for that. That's option one. Option two is really the perfect option for everyone which is using already a traceability in their company. It's an integration to their MES system, management execution system. And Weller allows the communication protocols to deliver all the data and all the parameters which are possible in both directions. You can get all that information in their system, as well as you can give orders to the station itself in terms of what temperature set, what tool, what tip. All of that things are possible by the direct integration to the customer system. Yeah. And that's going via MQTT protocol. And for sure, we are having demos to help to see what our station is capable of. That's option number two, and that would be the perfect solution for the customer. Number three is some of the customers want to go for that solution maybe in the future, but for sure, as long as their end customers does not need a traceability data, why doing that extra work, right? So it's an additional workload they need to do to deliver the data, how they produced, to the application itself. So the number three option would be the Weller own software. There are two different software options. Number one is available on the Windows Store. We just launched recently a basic version to have traceability and getting a CSV extract of the soldering parameters on the station. And that Windows app we want to use also for further development in the future, getting a full platform on having a production dashboard, doing automated software updates, doing full remote control from the computer, as well as having all the traceability reports. So that would mean instead of just delivering the hardware and giving let's say, the communication protocol options and the options to extract the data, we would also deliver an own solution in terms of software supporting our customers. Right. And then we have a second digital solution, which is an app in the Android store and the Apple store, which helps for single remote control on the station right now, means the supervisor, so it's mainly a benefit for the supervisor, can have full control on his production lines, but he can also change parameters on the station, like temperature. He can make a tool lock, a tip lock, and can change every station, every parameter setting you can also change on the station when you're really in front of that. So you can really do the remote management to improve the process control on the station, and then for sure also the quality in the production process. Yeah. And both of that apps are, let's say, the jump off point now, and it's planned to have further development over the next 24 months supporting that, and also additional customer needs. We're still collecting voice of customer. We're still getting information in what customers want to have additional, and we're really open to improve to the customer needs there. So 3 different options available. One without network with USB, one if the customer has a software solution already himself, and the third version would be like Weller providing software in the future.
Yeah, that's a really flexible approach because depending on, as you mentioned, obviously what the customer requirement is, they can have that different approach to how they interact and receive their data, whether they need to, as you say, put it into their own system, or they want to put it using your software to document, or using USB. When we were talking about connectivity, obviously one of the things about connectivity that springs to mind is safety and cyber security. So could you just tell me a little bit more about how Weller are approaching that with this particular WXsmart?
So it was one of the most important factors we had in there, and we collected it also during our journey before we started developing the product. For example, we visited a company in the US for aerospace, and they said we can bring or integrate nothing to the network which could be a danger for our production plants and opening up for possible dangerous things from the outside. So we did know from the beginning, if we develop a smart station with integrated connectivity, we need to have clear safety functions and features on the station. So we invested a lot into cybersecurity the first time in a hand soldering station, and we are the first soldering manufacturer which is really promoting that we have built in cybersecurity to our station. So we don't just deliver all that new features and making everything smart. We try to protect also the station and the customer network at the same time. Means, for example, we have built-in TLS encryption. We're using a two-factor authentication. We're using protected software updates. And we did build in a new user management system with a 6-digit password code. So that's just some simple explained safety features, but we have a long list of safety and cybersecurity features we built in, which we're happy to share in detail. But that would be like, in a nutshell, like what is Weller currently offering.
Yeah. So, I mean, just to recap, Marcel, what you've taken us through today is absolutely amazing. This station, smart soldering, the modularity, the energy efficiency, the space saving, and then obviously those options for collecting data, for cybersecurity, even things down to your tip replacement, for example, and precision. There's a lot to take in here with this system, isn't there? So I'm just asking, what's next?
That's a good point. So right now we're really happy presenting to our partners the new WXsmart platform and getting in contact with all our customers, explaining the new station, all the new possibilities they have to improve their process, their productivity, and the safety in the plants. And it's a really good point. What is next? So there will be more tools and more hardware in the future, and we will start with that even in 2023. There will be 2 new tools available, tweezer tools for the WXsmart station, a micro pico 2-in-1 tweezer solution with also intelligent tips, so taking it to the next level again. And also we will have a heavy duty soldering / desoldering tweezer available with 150 watt, which is also using smart tips. So again, these 2 tools will be the first smart tweezers worldwide, which Weller is delivering, and that's increasing again the precision delivered to our end customers. So there's new hardware in terms of tools for the station, increasing the range of tools, even to the existing range we're having. Right now are 16 tools backwards compatible. 2 new tools are available. 2 new other tools with the tweezers will launch beginning of 2023 or Q1, let's say that. And also, as mentioned earlier, we don't stop with the software at that point. It's really a living system, and we improve over time and will bring new features to our customers. Within the next 12 months, there's a fixed plan, but also over the next 24 months, we will further improve functionalities, features for our customers to make their life easier. So there's a lot to come in 2023 and 2024, and we're really excited to share that then with our customer base.
Well, obviously you've been really busy, and you continue to be busy into next year as well. So for today, Marcel, I would just like to thank you for joining DesignSpark and talking to us about WX soldering. And I hope you can join us again on DesignSpark sometime soon.
Thank you, Craig. Really appreciate the invitation. It was great to be here, and I hope I will be there for the future as well for our next appointment.